The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to The Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Coach Des Maya. She is a podcaster of Born Unbreakable. She's a certified transformational coach and a mindset motivator. We're here to talk about friendships, and Maya, she's going to run through it, or Coach Des, as we're going to call her. She's going to talk to us about it. So, hi, Coach Des.
Hello, Jaden. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited for a conversation today about friendships.
Yes, I'm also excited to hear about it. Over the last couple of years, I've been hearing a lot of songs about friendships, people who are not your friends, etc. And I'm like, this is an interesting topic. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Coach Des, first of all, who are our friends?
In thinking about friends, I think about the first thing that comes to my mind is trust. So trust, I think, is a foundational element of what friendship entails. Because if you can't trust a friend, then are they a friend, right? So I think the foundation of trust is a vital aspect of it. I think friends are people who are there for you in times of celebration, but also times of difficulty.
Right.
So when you think about some of the most adverse experiences that you have, whether it's losing someone, having a terrible day, having a breakup, all of those times when you're down, friends are the people that are there that will pick you up, encourage you, motivate you, and sometimes just listen. You might not need them to solve your problems, but they're there to listen to you when you're in a time of need. And so I think oftentimes in friendship, people think of all the fun that you have, all the things that you do together where you're going out, you're planning things, you're maybe even, going on vacations and doing those kinds of things. But I think friendships it's the whole picture of life. That's why it has to include those moments where things are not perfect, because that's how is a testament of a true friend. It's not just when things are great, it's when things are difficult that they are those individuals that show up. So I think of trust, I think of loyalty, and I think of there for all of the high and low points of life.
Okay. So are friendships normally mutual? And do they have an expiration date?
I would hope that they are, but I think the truth is that they're not always mutual. And what I mean by that is, if anybody's listening right now, you might think of two different friendships, just to give you an example.
Okay.
You might have one friend that you can call on, and they're the kind of friend that's there for you, but they also just call on you to check in too. So It's they care about you as a person, and sometimes they just call to say hello. So they're a very mutual friend in terms of having a balance. And then you might, in contrast, think of that friend that only calls you when they need something. So it's not just to say hello, to say, how are you doing? But they only call you when the sky is falling, right? So I do think that there are different friendships because not everyone has the same level of emotional maturity to necessarily give somebody the same thing that they want to receive. Although I think we aspire to try and create mutual friendships. And I will also say to your second part of your question is I do think that there are some friendships that expire. I know in my own life, I've had seasons of friendships where there was somebody who came into my life and served more of a purpose for a season of growth that I was going through. But beyond that season, didn't last because there were, maybe differences in the direction, the path, maybe the alignment that we were as individuals. And so I don't want to paint a picture that every friendship lasts forever. I think the ones that are very special certainly can and do, but I do think that there are some that have a season, and that's okay.
So coach, with the first question,
Mhm.
then the persons who only call you when the sky is falling, they're not really friends.
Yeah, I mean that's it's a great point. I and one of the things I think anybody listening should be evaluating is when you think of your list of, and you could keep it simple. Let's say the top 5 people. I mean, I'm sure people have more friends than that, but if you think about the 5 friends that you spend the most time with, and you run through that list and say, is it mutual reciprocity friendship, or is this a friendship that feels one dimensional and one sided? And if it feels one sided, I think it's a great time to evaluate the nature of that friendship. And if you're actually getting value in a meaningful way from that person, if the only essence of why you're communicating is because they need something from you.
It's more a parasitic relationship. That's what it is.
Hmm.
But you had said, some people have more than just 5 friends. Do we really have more than 5 friends? Because I know like people in their 20s, younger ages, they seem to have a lot of friends.
Yeah,
I was there at a point where everybody is friends.
right.
Since I'm past 20,
Yeah.
I've passed that age. I realize I don't have quote unquote a lot of friends, a lot of acquaintances.
Mm. Yeah.
And I have just a few friends. So, sometimes I hear people have this 30 friends. I don't believe anybody has 30 friends.
Well, and this is a great discussion because today, right? Social media is a centerpiece of the lives of many. I won't
Yes.
say everyone because I do meet some people who say, "Oh, I don't use social media." And I think there's nothing wrong with that either. In fact, in some ways I think you have to be careful with how much you use social media, but when you think about popular forums or platforms such as Facebook or Instagram, does a follower really equate to a friend? Probably not,
Mm.
right? Because there's some people who have thousands of followers, but I doubt that you would call all of those people friends. Would you call them in an emergency? Would they show up? I don't think so. Um, I think about what you just said in terms of age and even maturity. I think at a young age, when you're developing your social circle, you have a desire to engage with a lot of people, and you're still teasing out what friendship is, what it means, and what it looks like. I've found as I've gone through the decades, through my 20s, through my 30s, and then I just reached that new decade of 40 just recently. And I, I have found that the people I talk to on a regular basis, I can count on one hand.
Yes, that's where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Oh boy. Um, do we tend to put expectations on people unknowingly?
I think so. I think it's one of those things sometimes that is unspoken. And because relationships in many ways happen organically, and you're hoping that through the engagement, the trust, the bond that you build with someone, expectations kind of happen in a natural way. I'm there for you, you're there for me. Uh, and so I think it does happen that way.
Yeah, because that's a fault of ours. Because if it is that we quote unquote say we have friends, say we have these five friends, we consider them friends. Do they consider us friends?
Mhm.
Secondly, we can say, "Oh, you know what, in the bad times, I'm gonna if they have bad times, I'm gonna be there for them." Who told us that in bad times they're gonna be there for us? So
Right.
it is like when we expect it and it doesn't happen, oh my God, you're not my friend. No, we had put an expectation on somebody without having a conversation with them.
Hmm.
Years ago, I met someone who we started talking, going to a facility, and we became, we talked every day. And she and I were very close, and she said to me, "What is the expectation of this friendship that we have?"
Yeah.
And that was the first time somebody's actually asking me that question, and I'm like, I found that so weird. Like, who asks people that? But then as I got older, I realized that's an interesting point because from the get go, from the concrete of the relationship, you want to know, okay, what expectation do you have of me? Can I fulfill it? Do I want this friendship because of the expectations that you have, and
Hmm.
vice versa? Then we can make a mutual decision to say, okay, we are not going to be as close as or tight, or we're not going to be such good friends as we probably thought we would because we cannot meet each other's expectations.
Right. And interestingly, when you think about relationships, when if it's an intimate relationship, say you're dating and it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you do place weight on understanding expectations because you want to know where the relationship stands, where it's going, if you're aligned, if you're on the same page. So, in that same light, while it's not a romantic relationship, it's a relationship nonetheless. So it's interesting how we might place more emphasis on a certain kind of relationship to get to expectations discussions faster versus a friendship where you have a more loose perspective on approaching it, when really you do want to know that you're aligned in
Yes,
the way that you treat one another.
right. But even for romantic relationships, we do, as you say, place unexpected expectations because you're our partner. So
Mm,
we're expecting certain things.
right.
And I believe that's also what leads to a lot of divorce.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can have an expectation without speaking to your partner. Your partner does not know that you have that kind of expectation. Like an example, you're expecting that every day you're gonna clean up the house after you use the kitchen. We clean up the house every day.
Mm,
That person may not do the same thing.
no,
So you cannot expect that of somebody without talking to them about it.
right. And I think that there's okay, so one of the anchors that I come back around to, because I think it's something everyone has an understanding of, is this idea of a pie. So let's pretend for a moment that we all had a pie in front of us, and let's say it was sliced into 8 pieces. There's we might label each of those slices something different, but it might be something like, you know, spirituality, social life, finances, career, etc. As you evaluate each of those areas of importance to you, you have an opinion about each of those things.
Yes.
So, like, let's say financially, you're driven financially and you're motivated in a certain direction. So, you might have a set of goals. And if somebody comes into your life, you might be curious as to whether their goals in that particular area align with yours. So
Yes.
that's an expectation that needs to be like, if you're with a person maybe that isn't ambitious and doesn't have those same goals, then it might not be a relationship you sustain, because in the long term, there might not be alignment. And so, as we go through each of those slices, I think we do have a vision in our head of what we would want another person to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
on those topics, those categories. But it's not something that we always are very forthright in discussing immediately.
True.
You
Very, very true. And I think we should spend more time, whether intimate or just friendship, having a lot of conversations instead of just having, or should I say, having a lot of hard conversations instead of just having good times.
That's right. I agree.
Emphasis on that. do do all our friends have the best interests for us?
This is another one where I want to say that the answer is yes, but I think the answer is no. If we're having a really honest conversation, I'm sure many of us have experienced that. You know, I have gotten to a place in my life where I'm selective
Yes.
about who that inner circle is. Like we just talked about, there's probably maybe a handful or less of individuals that you keep close to you.
Yes.
For those people, they are there because I do believe they have the best interest in mind, but it's almost like the Hunger Games or Survivor or something where people had to go through the obstacle course to see if they lasted until the end of
Yes.
the game.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's many people along the way that you thought had your best interest in mind, but didn't, and actually had judgment on you, didn't support you. Or what I have found is when you're winning and a person has that's just one example, uh, a judgment of, you know, why are you doing too much? Why are you putting too much on your plate? Or are is don't you think that's a little uh lofty of a pursuit right now? I had friends in the past that would kind of question every pursuit, or almost it appeared that they were projecting on me their own insecurities for the pursuits that I was chasing, and I didn't feel that I was in good alignment. So I didn't feel like they had my best interest in mind, because if they did, they would be encouraging me, giving me constructive feedback, but not, flat out not wanting me to pursue something that I wanted to put my heart into.
That's crazy. How
Mhm.
sometimes when we win, we realize who our friends are.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, because here's the thing, and I want to make sure your listeners know this and take this in. Everything is fine when you're comfortable. When
Mercy.
things change and you start to evolve and grow, and it's possible for you to evolve and grow past the level of where a friendship exists, it's uncomfortable for your friend, because if they're not doing the same thing in their world, in their universe, all of a sudden you're getting to a place where your circles are changing, your goals are changing. They feel in some way that they're left behind. And in that case, that's a choice for them to decide if they're growing in the same direction as you, or maybe you don't align anymore. And I do
Mm.
think that happens, and you have to make conscientious choices about who you want to keep in your life. And here's the other point, is not everybody needs a front row seat in your life, right?
Mm.
There could be people that at one point, when they got their admission ticket, they could afford the front row. Those people
Mm.
may need to move to the back row. Doesn't mean you're cutting them out completely, but you might need to assess some boundaries and how much time you spend with them if they're not adding value to your life.
Whew. Okay.
Yeah, there's this acronym that I talk about. I recently submitted a manuscript for Born Unbreakable, the book, and one of the things I talk about in the book is this acronym called SAVERS, and SAVERS stands for a person that supports you, is aligned with you, value adds to your life, elevates you, and rises with you. So it's a good assessment of someone that can keep up with the level of growth that you're experiencing. So it can be a bit of a bit of an assessment that you can do to determine what seat you place someone in your life.
True, very, very true. And to see if it is that in fact they believe that you're going too fast for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. So, with that being said, then a friend can be jealous of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I
But then are they your friends if they're jealous of you?
Right. Yeah. And
You know?
I think I think of the different experiences that I've had and that distinction of friendship versus, somebody who's envious. And even in the other direction, when I see friends winning at life in whatever area, whether it's love or wealth or health, I I want that for them. I want to be somebody that's by their side saying, absolutely, what are we going to do to celebrate this? You deserve to acknowledge this milestone that you're experiencing. I don't want to be that person that goes, oh, really? So now you think you're going to accomplish this?
Mm,
When people have those kinds of reactions, as someone is, experiencing growth in their life, it usually is projection, uh, because it's a reflection of the work that someone needs to do on themselves, and so
wow.
that's a big indicator for insecurity and potentially trauma that somebody needs to take some time to work through because it manifests in how they show up to other people.
Very good point. What are some other red flags to look for in a friendship?
You know, I think balance. Like that was one of the points that was made early on in our conversation. Is there an equal amount of give and take, right? And also even just, have you ever thought about a friend who, if you didn't call them, you would never talk to them,
Oh, yeah.
right? So just, sit on that for a second. It's like,
Oh, I have marinated in it too.
yeah. So if that's the case, and all of a sudden 3 months and 6 months goes by, and you haven't heard from that person because you are the one that's reaching out all the time, that's an interesting observation, right? Like friendship should be going in both directions. Just as much as you're willing to pick up the phone and check on a friend or just say hello, that should happen, in the other direction. I also think that gauging the 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 positivity or the negativity that people bring to your life. So I'm a believer that you're either surrounded by people who fuel you or deplete you.
Hmm.
Another way to look at it is you may have people in your life that are anchors that weigh you down or sails that propel you forward. And
Hmm.
so a red flag are those people who are negative, only focus on what's not working, only have bad things to say, only have an attitude of being victimized, that the world is doing everything to them and not for them. Because what it looks like as time goes on is your energy dissipating and you being brought down to a place that's not allowing you to thrive. And so, do you really want people that are going to place that sort of weight in your life where life is hard enough as it is already? You know, you don't need people adding to the weight of already life that's going to bring you difficulties without the need for that extra weight in your bag.
I mean, that's a valid point that you just brought out. Well, all of them are. But as I said, in early 20s for people, it's all about having a whole heap of people around us, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, to be, having our names called by people to say, oh, we're friends. And as they get older, you realize that, okay, if you're going in different direction, those people no longer go with you. And sometimes we have a tendency of trying to pull them. Why are you no longer coming with me? Um, Why are you no longer here? Why are you no longer calling my name as your friend? Why is it that I'm no longer important to you? And because we want that validation of we have people who love us. But the truth is we're hurting ourselves because they actually don't want to be around us or with us. Couple podcasts before I had a conversation with someone, her husband had passed. But before he did, they were surrounded by so many people. When he passed, only a handful contacted her, and she was wondering what's happening.
Wow.
Where are they? These are people that he would call every day, have conversations with almost all the time, laugh, they'll go out together. And now that he's dead, where are they? They are nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
And that for her said, no, not everybody around you is your friend.
Mm,
And she has come to realize that in death for her husband, that even the persons who he thought would have been there for him and who he was there for and would go out of the way to do anything for was not there at all. Not even reached out to her to say, you know what, condolences, how can we help you? How can we be there? And that is important because not everybody is in our tribe.
no, no. And that's something that I think people should hold sacredly. If somebody, you have to, I almost look at it like an interview process. When you go to interview for a job somewhere, there's criteria, right? That you have to meet in order to get that job. You have to be punctual. You have to have the right skill set. You have to have the right attitude. You have to have the right drive. And so when you're choosing your friends, why choose anything less than what you would want to give to a person? Don't be afraid to have criteria for people that are in your life because our life is too short. You know,
True.
we don't know everything as human beings, but one thing we do know is that our time here on the earth is
Very
limited,
short.
right?
Very short. Very, very short. But the thing is, sometimes we give criterias, or sometimes they're unexpected, as we talk about unexpected expectation that we're talking and we're doing the most, and then stuff happens like he died.
Hmm.
Probably he thought that if anything happened to him, they would have been there. It's also a thought that we expected, but it's not there. I'm sure the wife expected the same people who will come around all the time to be there.
Right.
And the people that you didn't expect are the ones that showed up. And that's a teacher for us.
Absolutely.
Whew. All right. Coach Des, any last words? And please tell us where is it that we can find you?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for being so authentic and holding space to have an important conversation for us to take a step back today and reflect on our own choices and our own friendships and being more intentional around the people we invite into our lives. For
Hmm.
anyone that's interested in keeping connected with me, you can find me. I'm mostly on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Born Unbreakable, all one word. And on my website, which is bornunbreakable.com, there's links to all my socials there as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much again, Coach.
Yes,
It was really great having you here and, telling us about friendships and what to look for and the concreteness that makes what friendship is. Thank you for that.
absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.